Good morning, everyone. I just had to hop on a hangout with my good friend Kevin Mullet from Market Snare. Say hello, Kevin.
Hello, Kevin.
This hangout came about really quickly because obviously there's lots of talk about the Google mobile search algorithm update that is rolling out today, and I just saw a couple of posts from marketing land and search engine land that it is, yes, rolling out. Search engine land, let's see, Greg Sterling just posted about 20 minutes ago on the search engine land blog that yes, it is rolling out. Kind of giving a little bit of a primer to what we might expect as it starts doing all of that. And I wanted to get Kevin in to give us a little bit of a take on what this really means, what we need to do. If, first of all, we were both laughing because there's lots of commentary going on the hashtags and Twitter and whatever. If you want to track this, if you want to find out what's happening, blah, 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 check us out. And Kevin's comment was, if you haven't gotten ready for this yet, you're too late. Am I right, Kevin?
Yeah, if you've waited till today to ask the question, is your site ready? Oh my God, whatever. Then you're in a world of hurt. Because you have a task that basically takes people weeks at the minimum to do correctly, really, to think through all of the things that you need to think through for even a modest sized site. Now, I suppose you could do a WordPress site you could handle in a day, to get it up to speed, maybe not optimized, but up to speed. But yeah, if you're a big corporation and you're just waiting till today to really tackle this, one foot's already in the grave there.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed in the Search Engine Land article is that this applies to individual pages and not entire websites. You want to address that a little bit?
Well, I think it's a common thing, and I was just talking to a buddy of mine last night that has literally tens of thousands of pages that are location-based pages. And so here's the common thing is so he's self-medicating because he can't afford to pay a professional, okay? And I get that, I understand it. And so all of a sudden he's talking about killing 10,000 some pages that have to do with restaurants in the area, basically
Wouldn't you know it, his connection hangs up right in the middle of a really good point. We're going to give Kevin just a moment for his Wi-Fi to catch up and not lag on us. This is the fun part about doing a live Google Hangout. Sometimes the tech just bites us in the butt. Yeah, he's lost his connection. Give us just a moment. He will come back. This has been an incredibly popular topic amongst my circles over the last several days. I was actually at a regional PubCon conference yesterday, and it was definitely the hottest topic at that particular event. A lot of the presentations had to do with mobile, had to do with local. A lot of this is, it's just Google telling us that, look, your audience already wants to use these mobile devices. They are using these mobile devices. I know, working with retail over the holiday season last year, we saw a huge increase in mobile usage during shopping season. And Google has been trying to get businesses online to recognize the fact that mobile is the largest growing device segment right now, and you need to have your sites ready. This is what your customers want. So getting that set up, and if need be, forcing businesses to pay attention to mobile, Google's kind of taking it on themselves to go, okay, time's up. You're looking to see if Kevin was coming back or not. Sorry about that. Kevin, you left me here to vamp on my own, dude. Are you getting audio yet?
Well, no, that's terribly inconvenient.
Whatever it takes, man. I appreciate you doing the multi-device thing when it's necessary.
Sometimes technology just fails us miserably, and it's hilarious. So I don't know how much you got. I didn't know where you left off.
Actually, you were just about to make a great point, and it just went.
That point is probably lost forever. So did any of it come out, or?
No. We.
Okay.
Quite all right. Hey, you know what? This is part of doing stuff live. Things happen. It's okay.
Right. So the question was, what was the question again?
We were talking about, oh, dude, this is too late to be worried about it now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, man, I went on because my light was still on there, and I thought I was actually commenting back. The thing of it is that this is going to be only for mobile only queries, and I think that's what a lot of people misunderstand, is that this is not for their desktop queries. This is going to be for mobile only queries. And so really what they need to figure out is they need to look, and they need to see of their traffic is coming from Google organic mobile only traffic. And so when you talk, I think, we were talking specifically about what's, so for example, I have a friend that is down Minneapolis. He has thousands of pages, and he was going to kill off like almost 10,000 pages that were very local specific for restaurants and so forth like that. And he definitely doesn't want to do that because that is going to lower his quality score for local relevance to that area. And he may still score well on the desktop for those queries, for those areas. He may just not get a bump for the mobile portion of it. And so it's really kind of a rash decision to say, because I can't make all of my site mobile optimized, because it's, I mean, Google's calling it mobile friendly. We used to call it mobile optimized. Since I can't make all of it ready in time, I'm just going to nuke pages that that I can't get to, and that's a really dangerous way to go about it.
Agreed. That kind of leads me to something I've been thinking about, because rankings and where you land in mobile search, that doesn't guarantee a conversion. It doesn't really even guarantee traffic, but it does obviously affect how much traffic you can drive to your site via a mobile device. My thought was, how much of that traffic that does get driven by search on a mobile device does convert for you? And of that traffic, how much of it is just people looking? How much deeper into our analytics do we need to be digging to really determine whether or not this is something we should panic about?
Well, I mean, okay, so there's multiple layers there. And so, we've been hearing about mobile, or at least I have, since 2005, 2006. Oh my God, mobile, 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 mobile. And I was one of those early people that said, well, right now, 3% of your traffic is coming from mobile. How much do you want to allocate to that for 3%? And then, the next year it would be, 6 or 7%. And then, around 2010, 2011, it really started to shoot up. And then it's like, oh, okay, especially for very specific, like, we always used to say restaurants were like one of the first, you've got to be mobile friendly because that's where people are going to be doing a query. But to your point, I think that people need to be worried about it either way, because a percentage of their traffic is going to be coming from mobile. So they do need to worry about it regardless. But then, yes, like anything in life, they need to prioritize based off of the reality of what the severity is. So they need to basically go and look in their analytics for what percentage of my traffic is mobile, because I'm dealing with a usability and a conversion issue just regardless of what Google's providing. But then
Right.
you need to look at what percentage of that mobile traffic is coming from organic mobile queries, which you and I were talking about ahead of time. Those may be different keywords and they may be different purposes than, if it's a restaurant, I maybe am even typing in, a branded term with contact information or phone number. Well, in that case, what people really need to understand is Google is not going to not show your website for a branded term when you ask, I'm looking for Pizza Hut phone number. That is not the type of, they're going to show up because that's a branded term. Okay, so you have to basically say, here's my percentage of mobile traffic. Here's my percentage of mobile traffic that comes from organic queries. And unfortunately, what we don't have is we no longer have the keyword terms to say this is the percentage that comes from branded terms. So it's more difficult. You can go to Google Webmaster Tools, you can try and get it that way. But anyway, we're not getting that information on queries so that we can say, oh, in reality, this is only going to impact 5% of my traffic instead of the 15% that's coming from mobile, which would be ridiculously low, like maybe for a manufacturer. And now I can make a decision on how to prioritize it based off of that. And then also, to your point is, well, then what percentage of that traffic is even converting anyway, or what part of that is just part of the informational search process?
Right, right.
Like, for example, I just need to know where your address is because I'm trying to come visit you, and I can get that off of a mobile or a desktop version as long as I can get to that information on the page.
Sure. Well, while I was waiting for you to fix your technical difficulties, I had mentioned one of the things I had noticed because I was working retail over the holiday season last year was this enormous bump in mobile usage for Christmas shopping. And there was a lot of discussion at the time about showrooming and that kind of thing where I might use my mobile device to check pricing on several things around me locally. I might want to see who has something in particular, and yet I might walk through the door, or I might wait and go to your website later because you had a better online deal than you did an in-store deal. Can you kind of address why mobile search behaviors are very different from desktop behaviors, and how, doing a little research on mobile when I'm in the store, how that affects my next desktop search even?
Yeah, what I really like to talk to clients about is I like to talk about their own usage, because it used to be very difficult because only the geeks and the very affluent had mobile devices where they would be doing this. And let's face it, now I mean, you basically have to be avoiding smartphones to not be utilizing that type of a service and so forth. So I ask them to just kind of think about their own behavior. Now, a subset of the people that own the device are going to pull it out in the store and actually do the showrooming that you're mentioning, or they're going to use an app like Shop Savvy to query what else is around, or heck, they may even just do a Google search for a transactional search to say, I'm looking for a red wagon. What's the other prices on red wagons in this area? So, look at your own behavior, how you're doing it, but then also observe how other people are doing it. And let's face it, anybody can walk through a store, especially during a busy season, busy time, and look around and see people down like this. Now, they could be texting, but a percentage of those, if you watch them, because I do stuff like this, they're looking at the SKU, they're looking back, they're looking at the item, they're looking back. You know that person is actually doing a transactional or informational query. They're looking for reviews, they're looking for that kind of information. So, and then of course you have people that are on the road and they're looking, we used to use, some people still do, obviously, but you'd have a GPS, and the GPS would tell you only what's coming up within the next, en route. You could set it to do otherwise, and it would give you a list of items that you could select for. Well, a lot of people, like hopefully the passenger, is doing those queries right from their phone to say, what I'm looking for a restaurant in the area, I'm looking for gas stations, I'm looking for a shopping mall, I need to stop and, where's a Walmart nearby or a Meijer nearby. And people just need to really kind of think through all of those queries. From the website owner standpoint, you need to be thinking about how all of those opportunities would exist, just like you would with, say, signage. So when you say, we know that X amount of people travel on this highway and we want them to come to our restaurant, that means we need to put a road sign out, at this mile marker to get them prepared to do that. And so you just kind of have to slice it down, and there's a lot of different analytic methods to slicing that up. Way too many to get into here.
Right. So we start watching the numbers, the traffic drops down, it is actually impacting business for somebody. When mobile optimization is a priority, is this something that is going to be easier to fix than like the penguin and panda? I mean, there were some penalties that happened with those algorithm updates. Are we going to get penalized if we're not mobile friendly? Is this going to be a hole that we really have to work hard to dig out? Or as we get our pages up to date, are we immediately going to see benefit from those updates?
Well, that's a great question. I guess, Google, to my knowledge, hasn't come right out and said how frequently this will be run, how frequently this portion of the algorithm runs. Because what most people don't realize is, there's the Google algorithm, which runs each time, but it's based off of data that's held. Google doesn't always refresh the data, that they have, or all portions of that. So, for example, this is what the problem was with the Great Penguin thing that lasted for a year, is even though people had done the prescriptive corrective action that Google had requested, the data had not been refreshed. It was pulling, the algo was still being run against old data, and so people weren't let out of the the hole. Now, Google is real careful about using the word penalization, and I think that they're going to be very adamant about not using it here. It is not going to be a penalization. It is, you're not going to get the mobile friendly bump over your competitors. Now, I know this is going to be a long answer, but I want to make sure everybody's really clear on at least how I'm perceiving this. Google has always been an all things being equal type of situation. I mean, they have algorithms that run multiples, Penguin and Panda sit on top of the other base algorithms and they run, okay? We don't know how often this is going to run, and we don't know how often the data is going to refresh. But if no one else in your competitive market has updated their website, Google is still going to pick 10 winners, okay, or 7, depends on the SERP result. They're still going to pick winners, okay? And again, we're talking about the organics. Now, some people are speculating that because of overall quality, which gets to your exact point, that other ranking might go down, like locals, okay? When we say locals, we're talking about the map pack specifically, or the carousel, which is less prevalent now. But we don't know that yet. We simply do not know that. But one of the things I like to remind people of is that, again, if competitor A, B, and C all have mobile-friendly sites and you don't, well, then the only way you're going to win above them is if their sites just stink from a content perspective and provide no value, and people are constantly bouncing off of their site, not finding what they want. Well, then Google's other signals are still going to run against this. This one isn't going to necessarily trump all else. It's going to say, here's 2 sites that have basically equal content, equal value, equal quality. People like both of these sites. People spend time on both of these sites. There's links coming back to both of these sites. Oh, this one's mobile friendly. Boom, that one wins. Now, if this one completely stinks and nobody likes it, even though it's mobile friendly, I'm betting that Google is going to select the non-mobile friendly one, because if people are staying on that one, then that is still a sign of quality, and all other things added to that, all other things being equal. Google is still going to find worthy ones, and they've called it a significant bump, so we know it's going to be more than, like, say, the HTTPS or performance. We know it's going to be, because they've said that it's going to be more than that. So hopefully that answers that question.
It does indeed. And thank you for highlighting the fact that in your local area, because absolutely mobile is a very, very local geocentric kind of thing, that if your competitors are as far behind the eight ball as you are, this is an opportunity for you to, score a competitive advantage. And if you can move on that before your competitors do, you're going to get some mobile search wins.
Yeah, and we of course at Market Snare our whole bailiwick is local. I mean we deal with companies that have tens to thousands of locations, so we're always talking about the local part of it. But again, so we're telling people this is an opportunity. You need to get on this. If you waited till today, it's too late. You need to, it's not too late to start the process, but it's too late for today. But yeah, it is of paramount importance that they understand that Google is just not going to leave an empty result set. Your branded terms, you're still going to be found for your branded terms. But if you want that boost, that extra, you need to be mobile friendly. And if we could, we should also explain to people what really a little bit about what mobile friendly is and what it is not. Specifically, responsive web design versus the other methodologies that you could use for that.
Right on. I believe you said you had a long conversation or a fairly decent conversation about this yesterday on Periscope, and you had some visuals to share with us. You want to jump into that for a moment?
Yeah, and unfortunately I can't show the visuals because I
Right,
switched
because
over to
other
you might have the graphic if you have the graphic
yes,
from this.
actually I do.
But the key point here is Google long time ago when man, I wish I had the date, a year and a half ago or more, came out and made a recommendation for responsive web design. A recommendation is not a preference. They didn't come out and say, we will give preference to responsive web design. They didn't say it's a signal. As a matter of fact, they've said repeatedly that RWD, responsive web design, is not a signal. It's not a ranking factor. The reason that they recommended it is because many people do not understand how to do mobile specific pages correctly in a way that does not hurt their their ranking because they don't understand canonicalization, the HTTP vary, or the other methodologies that are used to do that. So RWD is a recommendation. It is not given preference, and by the way, it still can be done incorrectly. So you don't build a site on RWD and that's SEO. Our RWD is not search engine optimization. RWD is a design and architecture implementation that is the base that your content, your search engine optimization, your correct site architecture lives on. It's the base part of that technology. And it is recommended, and it's what most sites will probably end up doing, but it is not a ranking factor. And I just say that so that people are very clear on what it does provide and the fact that it can be done wrong as well. So you don't want to just go to somebody who says, oh, yeah, I've made it in responsive, and so you're fine, your SEO is good, because that's not how it works.
Right. As you can see, I did pull up your whiteboard here, and I'm actually going to lock on my screen so that even when you're talking, people can still see. This was actually the biggest image of the screen I could give for you, so I know it's a little bit tiny, but I will provide a link to this as well later so people can actually take a good look at it. But on your graphic, you were talking about mobile friendly, would display work versus mobile optimized. You also mentioned you highlight the mobile query stuff here. Do you want to speak to anything else that's on this graphic?
Well, just again highlighting to people that what Google is now very commonly and casually calling mobile friendly is really optimized. I mean, let's be honest. It's you're saying this is an optimized uh, Google or mobile experience. We used to the basis we used to look at, like even back in the late 2000s, 2006, 2007, or whatever, is we just said, look, can somebody get to the website? Can they navigate it properly? Do the links work, or are there hover states that cause it not to work, or are there landing pages that'll let them get to the next parts of the site? All of these things, that the hit zones, were they fairly large, or was the type so tiny that you couldn't actually click anything? And those were things that we were doing before. But what we're really talking about now is you need to optimize for mobile. Now, me particularly, being in my field, what I don't like seeing is where people then say mobile first at the expense of desktop. So, for example, it's really common for people to chirp about how be mobile first, be mobile first. Well, if your traffic is still 30% mobile and 70% by proxy then desktop, then doing mobile first, where you put a hamburger menu, which is the three little lines, and that's where you're hiding your menu because you're mobile first, mobile first. That's not an optimal experience for 70% of your visitors. Because now they're like, where's the menu? Oh, I think that's where you got to hit to, because they're not us. They're not savvy like us. And so you still should be spelling out, in my opinion, in most cases, depending on your audience, you should be spelling out your navigation. That's being desktop optimized instead of just mobile optimized now. And so anyway, that's our opinion, and my opinion specifically on it is not to overdo it.
Right. Well, again, we come back to the issue of you need to prioritize how you're going to deal with this. Does your organic mobile search traffic warrant a major overhaul? Does the percentage of that traffic that converts, is that enough business that it would hurt you severely to lose it and you need to do something about it right now? And then all of the other stuff. How much more competitive are your competitors on those mobile searches? You need to step back, take a breath, and evaluate, okay, how seriously do I need to prioritize this? How high up the food chain does this need to be in the grand scheme of my business?
Now, one thing that people do need to consider, though, and it's funny because I've had several conversations along this end, I'm specifically telling people, hey, go look at, see what percentage of your mobile queries are coming from organic traffic, right? Or how much traffic is coming from Google organic queries. Well, maybe currently you are doing really poor in mobile SERP results anyway. And so maybe there's a lot bigger opportunity there than you're aware of. So I don't want to trivialize it by saying, well, if your current percentage of traffic that comes from mobile Google organic queries is low, then the heck with it, because maybe the problem is you're just missing the boat that much, and your competitors are actually getting that traffic. But at the same time, you do want to look at that as a total and decide, again, how to prioritize that. So the other thing to think about there is, again, what is the opportunity for conversion? Because maybe the reason you're not getting a lot of conversion, or you're seeing a lot of bounce and a lot of low time on page or low time on site specifically, if you're seeing that people are not reading articles, if they're not going to another page, if they're not getting to whatever the action is on that page, because Google is really serious about looking at what a given action is on a page, like sign up for a newsletter, people who have read this also like this, getting to a shopping cart, all of those things. Those are actions that you should be defining for every page, And then if people are not taking that action on that page, that's hurting all of your organic, not just the mobile conversion as well. And one other final point on that is to remember that to see exactly how your search ranking, which we don't want to get overly worried about ranking, but to see how that is going to be on mobile, you basically have to go to a mobile device and do the search, because a lot of packages, a lot of search ranking tools don't break out or give you a specific mobile ranking. And I bet a lot of people haven't thought about that. They're
Actually,
looking at,
I have some good news on that one, because last week, before the algorithm change rolled out, Authority Labs does have a way to break out your mobile rankings. We can even side by side those rankings against your desktop rankings. We can do a different batch of keywords on your mobile as well. I mean, we've really been able to set up this tool in a way that you can customize it so that you can see where you're missing opportunities. Are you making the most of the opportunities that you have? Right now, we'll even do some keyword research for you to get you started. So if you're looking for a tool that will enable you to make these prioritizations, these decisions, Authority Labs is one of the few that will let you break out the search results. And we can do it not just for Google, but we've also got Yahoo and Bing. So you can see how all of that is playing one against another.
Yeah, and what's really critical too is for people to remember, and I'm, unless you guys have changed it, I'm really sure that you do this as well. Maybe I'll be proven wrong because I'm thinking of something else, but it is important for them to, if the package doesn't provide the methodology, for them to also spot check within an incognito window or in private browsing from a set location, because what happens a lot of times is if they get a generic search ranking tool and it doesn't allow them, I shouldn't say generic, but I mean, not all of them allow you to pin it to the location that they're in. So in that case, then you would be doing this national query for very specific location, and Google will serve different results if they, for example, if I do a search even for branded terms like Pizza Hut here in Fort Wayne versus doing a query in Sarasota, Florida for Pizza Hut. I mean, Google understands that, and they also do that for non-branded terms, of course, as well.
Yes, actually, we can do those rankings based on location. We can do it, by city name, by zip code. There are several different ways that we can set that up. I highly recommend the zip code. We can do multiples. What's really cool is this tool, you don't have to do just the general homepage URL. We can do it for individual landing pages. So, I mean, you can, as granular as you want to go on this, if you want to check a specific landing page for a specific location and you want to side-by-side it with, desktop against mobile, we can do all of that for you. If you want to run a different query set for your mobile based on location than your desktop, we can do that. So,
which is almost certainly going to be, at least in part, the case, because again, your mobile queries much of the time are going to be slightly different or more nuanced than a general query from the desktop. And so, to a point that you had made earlier, Michelle, is the other thing that we're constantly having to talk to people about is making sure that they're winning for the terms that actually are worth winning for. And so, sometimes, and we've talked about this before, so I know this occurs, you're aware of this, is, people come in and say, I must be found for X term, And it's like, well, that sounds great, but either the competitiveness is too much for the budget or resources that they have to bring to bear for that. So it's unrealistic to expect to be number one for shoes nationally, or they want to be found for something that really isn't converting well for them in the first place, like it's a fringe term, a derivation of a term, and that's not really worth spending a lot of effort on, because that's not what is going to really bring in business.
Gotcha. All right. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I let us go a little long because of your technical glitch. Is there anything you want to add on, say, encourage people about before we go?
I would say go to the mobile friendly tool that Google has, and
I did add that link in our Showcase app for anybody watching this on Google Plus. I gave you the link just to help you out.
Yeah, go run your site against that. Look at it. If you're unclear as to what the result set tells you, what you need to do to take a prescriptive or corrective action on that, get with a professional. And one of the things that we talk to people about all the time is get an audit done. An audit is often the first step of any kind of a good program, is seeing where you're at, where's your weaknesses, because a professional is going to say, don't get fixated over here when 70% of your converting traffic is coming from desktop and you really stink there. So let's solve that first, and then we'll come over and we'll grab this traffic for mobile. But yes, we need to have mobile on the radar. Here's the deficiencies. It's going to take this much time to fix this part of it. It's going to take this much time to fix this part of it. And let's prioritize that based off of what the analytics tell us. And of course, to add to that is, it's not just what the Google Analytics tell us. It's, there's other KPIs and other factors. So it may be what your search ranking software is telling you, if that's, Authority Labs or whatever else, or in addition to the traffic and the results that come from Google Analytics, or one of the other many different analytic packages that are out there.
Excellent. Kevin Mullet, thank you very much for spending part of your day with me and going through this, and hopefully allaying some fears and calming some panic.
Ooh, one other point.
Yes.
Can I make one other point? Thank you.
Absolutely.
I always appreciate you. Tablet is not part of mobile right now. So just in case somebody didn't pick up on that, tablet is separate, although there's some question about phablets, the large phones. Those, I believe, are going to count for mobile traffic. But tablets, like your iPads and so forth like that, are not counting for mobile traffic. Thought we better cover that.
Yes, very important. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Everybody have a great Mobilegeddon day. and let us know if there's anything we can do to help you keep track of the changes as they roll out.
Okay, thank you.